Hello, welcome back.
Yeah,
You just made it.
the community conversation. Yes, I just flew in and my arms are tired. How many times are you gonna get told that bad daddy joke, right?
Yeah,
But no, man. I mean, yeah, community conversation starts here, and I understand that actually this time around, not that I was here for the last time, but John was.
yeah.
It's without the plexi separation.
There was some plexi here at one time. There
Boys
was
and girls
yeah.
gather around the fireplace. There was a time.
There was a time.
in this country when we were separated by plexi. Right? So without further ado, yeah, I did. I just flew in and I wanted to
Where'd
make it
you
here.
fly in from?
Oakland. I went up to
Okay.
spend time with my uncle, and this is the public service announcement here. You have family still alive. You have the ability to go see them. They can't maybe travel as easily. Take every moment that you have to spare to basically connect with family members.
Yeah,
As
absolutely.
much time as you spend with them. I lost my parents over the last four years or so, and as much time as you spend with them, when they're gone, you still feel like you didn't spend enough.
Absolutely. That is so true.
So there's your public service announcement brought to you by the great city of Costa Mesa
Absolutely.
and
I
Mayor
endorse- I
John
endorse
Stephens. You
that.
endorse this message?
Yeah.
Well, you're endorsing You're going to be endorsing messages now, right? You're running again in 2024.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I mean, and you talk about the spending time with your loved ones, and my mom died at age 97.
Wow.
And,
Long life.
Yeah, she did have a long life, and she died right after her 97th birthday in January of 2022. And yeah, she was one of my biggest donors to my campaigns, but also she supported me ever since birth. We were born on the same date, January 14th.
Wow. How weird is
And
that?
and it's amazing, what you say is we used to talk all the time, and in a way the pandemic was a blessing in terms of our relationship, because as I was growing up and having kids, there would be I'm embarrassed to say I could go a month or more without talking to my mom.
Easy.
But when the pandemic happened, she was basically a shut-in, and I said I have to talk to her every single day. So I created a habit where, as I was driving home from work, I would give her a call and we'd talk. And toward the end, she could barely talk. I mean, she broke her leg and she was having a hard time, and she had really low volume, almost to a whisper. And so this one particular day, I call her up, and it was as if 20 years passed by. She was talking with volume and remembering everything, and we were laughing and having a great time. And I called my sister and I said, something miraculous has happened to our mom. She's better. And the next day I'm at work and they call and they say she's unresponsive, and that's the last time I ever spoke with her.
Yeah, you and I didn't realize this until you just shared. Thank you. You and I basically probably went through a similar sense of loss during a pretty hard time. I mean, 2020. What did you say? 2020.
2022 is when she
2022.
died.
So it's
yeah.
like, people forget you had COVID, you had the shut-in, you had all of this stuff happening. I mean, it was a very stressful time, and we needed to pivot and adapt in many ways. And this is sort of like a silver lining that happened, is now you basically are dealing with this. My father was, we lost my mom the first 6 months of COVID. She had been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer before. She's dealing with it for a couple of years. And then the minute she was gone, and she, thank God she didn't suffer at home, she passed at home. My dad, we realized, was also dealing with Parkinson's and dementia. And they were, typical. She was kind of covering for him a little bit.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we're realizing all of this. So again, we had to prolong like 2.5 years, and there were moments, and for somebody who hasn't been going through this, like I'm just kind of like preparing you guys, is you'll see your parent kind of wane. And like during COVID, I remember my father got COVID, being at home, being shut in. He actually picked up COVID, and I will not name the agency because it's not their fault, but a caregiver gave it to him at home. And you'll get that little glimmer, like, oh, they're better.
Yeah.
And then you realize that when you're at that age and you get hit with, even if it's a cold or something, they never really fully recover.
Right. Yeah, and the younger generation's a little bit delusional because we don't, I think, realize the fragility of somebody who's in their mid 90s. Yeah, Parkinson's took my dad, and it took about 10 years of a decline.
Oh,
And
gosh, dude.
it was brutal. I don't even want to talk about that, but like with my mom, she was born in 1925.
Yeah.
So she went through the Depression. She
Yeah.
went through World War II.
Yeah.
She went through, housing insecurity, food insecurity as a child. She lost a child, a baby boy, my brother, when she was 21 years old. Moved out to California, left everybody in Illinois, moved out to California. She just COVID was nothing to her. I mean,
Oh, just another bump in the road.
Just a bump in the road. She was going to be fine, and in fact, she was, because she got to 2022, and we were all back together and having a good time, and then she was gone. But who can argue with 97 years?
No. I mean, we should all be so lucky, right? But it does when you go through something like that, it does also highlight to you that, time is finite and it's valuable, and what you choose to spend it on versus what you make excuse on spending it on, that becomes a little bit more discerning, I find, and evaluate it differently. It doesn't.
Right.
It's you say the life is for living. Yes, it is. But what do you do living it? How?
Right, exactly. And when I gave her eulogy, I was just reflecting on priorities, and how for my mother, her priority was my father. And with my wife and I, we have a great relationship and marriage. We've been married for 38 years. But neither.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
But neither one of us can say that she's my highest priority or I'm her higher priority.
Right.
Obviously, because now at some point we're going to segue into talking about the city of Costa Mesa, and I've got my law firm and I've got different things I'm involved in, and I'm all over the place. But you know what? When you become an adult, you become a grown-up, you're able. One of the things that you can control is your own priorities.
And you have a choice
Yes.
in what your priorities are, and it's okay. You can adjust them. Like
Exactly.
you're not stuck in whatever priorities you decided were important at the age of 30 or 20 or whatever. Does that phase of life? It's okay actually it's allowed. And I got to tell you, the reason why I'm even emphasizing the fact that it's allowed and I'm laughing while I'm doing it is because society basically tells you, wait a minute, you got an empty blank on your calendar. No, you should be filling it in, otherwise you're not productive. Like actually taking time and being either giving to yourself or giving to those around you in a manner that maybe not quantifiable on a balance sheet somehow, or a to-do list item being
Right.
crossed off. That's okay. That's you can do that, and it has value.
Well, that's the one thing I tell young fathers, because I play golf on weekend mornings with my friends. I've been doing it for 25 years. And
Yeah.
what I say is, and I've coached, and of course I'm the mayor and all this stuff I do, and partner at the law firm. But I say, you as an adult, it doesn't matter, man or woman, you have to prioritize some time for yourself. You have to say, this is the thing that I'm going to do just for myself. And the people who rely on you, you owe it to them
To do that.
to prioritize yourself. Because if you don't do that, then you're going to grow to resent the other people.
John, I heard something a while ago because I was walking around through life thinking, my cup runneth over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my cup runneth over, right? And you fill my cup and all of that stuff. And I realized somebody told me something. I said, no, your cup has to run over before you can actually fill somebody else's.
Right.
Like, just because your cup is full, that means you're not there yet. You need to have more in order to basically be there, like you say, to your family members, to your loved ones, whatever. So giving to yourself, and guys are notoriously bad about this, by the way.
Yeah.
Like women are a lot better than us, a million times over, right?
Right.
So it is absolutely a muscle we need to train. And it's interesting, Paul's going to say, well, how is this going to tie to Costa Mesa?
How
I
is
can
this
almost
gonna
hear the
tie
baby
to
boomer in
Costa
the back
Mesa?
room basically saying, well, get on with the programming
And
here.
also,
right?
who is this guy that I'm talking to?
But so John Stephens, mayor of Costa Mesa, and the thing I wanted you to come on and talk about in a few things, but one of them that really grabbed me is how you actually addressed the state of the city the other day and what you chose to do, which we'll get to in a minute, but also the fact that all of the stuff that we're talking about here really is that muscle of empathy, compassion, giving, servant's heart, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's important to point that out when it comes to somebody who's sitting in an elected position. Like that is a muscle that I look for in somebody who's going to be in that position, especially with some of the stuff that we're dealing with, whether it's an aging population, affordable housing, vulnerable populations, minorities. Like the nature of our county and the country is changing, and that's something, to be honest with you, I look for, not just where people stand maybe on a topic or like, because I don't necessarily need to know where you stand or something, but if I know that that is where you're coming from, then I feel comfortable that whatever challenges you face in that position, in that seat that you're sitting in, you're going to handle through that filter,
Right.
to some degree,
Right.
right? So why don't we talk about that? Why don't you talk about the state of the city and that element?
Yeah.
And how long have you been in that seat right now, John?
A little over 3 years. So
Okay.
I've given 4 states of the city.
Okay.
So the last one I gave the theme, I always have a theme, and the last one was Stronger Every Day. And when I walked up, my walk-up song was the song by Chicago, Feeling Stronger
Yeah.
Every Day. And then
That's supposed to be your cue, Paul, to actually
Yeah,
find
yeah.
it. Okay.
Play the music.
No, but so this year I was determined, because we are the city of the arts, to incorporate again music into the state of the city. And so I was looking for inspiration, and I thought about this song that I sing when I do karaoke, which is Country Roads by John Denver. And I always change up when I'm singing karaoke. I change up the words. I'll sing you the chorus. You know it. You know the words.
Ooh, extra bonus today.
Yeah. Take me home, country roads, to the place I belong, Costa Mesa,
Excellent.
California. Take me home, country roads. And then the theme that came out of that was pulling out those words.
Yeah.
Costa Mesa, the place we belong. Okay, and then getting in using that to access inclusion, which is one of our core values, compassion. And then also just saying, okay, before you even get to the place where you belong, you say, where's John Denver taking us? Home, right? And one of the greatest challenges that we all have in the city of Costa Mesa, or regionally, and certainly throughout coastal California, is housing.
Mm-hmm.
So the first chunk of the speech was, what are we doing to address housing? And
Let me just stop you there for a second, John, just so you can expand on that a little bit. So when you say we have a challenge for housing, I just want to be clear to take a minute and address this. It's multi-layered, right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's not where people are like, oh, no, affordable housing, da-da-da. Like, you got seniors. You got people that are starting their families and their life, right? So this is not like, not in my backyard putting in tenement housing. Like, we have a housing situation that impacts a whole bunch of people in our population, right?
absolutely. I mean, it cuts across all generations. I mean, like, for example, when I graduated from, you talk about the cup run, it's over.
Yeah.
I was really lucky. Well, not lucky. I mean, I guess lucky, because I had these great parents and had great genes. I did well at law school, and ended up being able to buy a nice house in Costa Mesa at age 28. And those days, even for law students and young lawyers at the top of their game, it's gone. And we have a whole generation of people that are having trouble enough renting and finding shelter, much less even having the aspiration of owning a home.
Right. It's out of reach.
Yes, I mean, I read something where it was I think it was a New York Times poll, and they said that even if you look at people under the age of 50, half of the people that don't own a home, they say, under the age of 50, don't even think they're ever going to own a home in their entire life.
Which is very much has been sold to us as a cornerstone of the American dream, right?
Yes.
And yet that's not even on their radar.
Yeah. I mean, I say that the American dream has gone from home ownership to moving out of your parents' house.
Actually moving back into your parents' house to live in that ADU in the backyard.
Yes.
That basically now they're because you have no other choice.
Yeah. And then the other aspect of it, before we even get to like the heavy lifting of trying to figure out how we can affect policy that's going to try to solve this problem, even if it takes us decades to do it, is if you were to ask people all over the world, you'd say, it doesn't matter, all continents, wherever, you just put a pin in any continent and you ask that person in their language, why do you live where you live? The number one answer you'd get, no matter where it is in the world, is, I want to be near my family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is happening with the housing crisis in California is when the younger generation can't find a place to live affordably, they move. And it breaks up families. And then of course the older generation has a choice. They either stay in the place that they've built a life for, or they move someplace else to be closer to what their family. And so it's a real corrosive the problem with housing affordability is, very corrosive to the things that we've taken for granted for generations. And so, something needs to be done. But like you say, it's people are just starting to get it, and they're just starting to understand that it affects everyone.
Well, and let me just add another layer to this, because it's something that I have basically been harping on a little bit, is, and this would probably resonate with a lot of people that are sort of that sandwich generation, which I think you and I are. So when you don't have the youth that were born and raised in those communities have the ability to stay in those communities and start, let's say, their adult lives in those communities, and then in sequence have families and so forth, what you're losing is a couple of things that I think are super critical. You're losing those who care about that community on a very DNA level,
Right.
from then becoming the future leaders and elected officials of those communities.
Right.
So when the people that are living in those communities that basically say, I got mine, I'm not worried about this, let them figure it out. When you see people moving in that are now changing the shape of those communities that you love, part of it is because the people who have an ingrained interest and a DNA attachment and vested interest in the community's future are now unable to stay there.
Right.
Also, those people that are young, when you have an aging population, I think it's like, 1 in 5, that's very close to it, or right now in Orange County, that are above 65. When you have the removal of the support system of the kids being close enough to basically then be there for the parents when they're older, you now have another crisis that's unfolding, which is the care of people as they age, and you don't have a built-in support system.
Right.
So those layers are not ones that not necessarily are at the forefront of the conversation, but they are absolutely rooted.
Absolutely. Well, if you look at the kind of the basic, social structure, starts with the family.
Yeah.
And the family takes care of each other. And then if there's a breakdown in that construct, then somebody has to come in and step in.
Yeah.
And then that creates a lot of more government involvement, a lot of burden on others.
Additional cost, John. I mean, additional cost. You start sourcing out that, even if you have the means, which last time I looked, that care is not covered by any insurance. I mean, let's just be nuts and bolts about it on some level, right? Other than the compassion and the giving back and being there, a parent to your parents when they need you. There's a cost factor, and
Right.
somebody's going to have to carry that cost factor. And at some point or the other, that becomes the community's issue.
Yeah, I mean, and we're kind of talking about elder care, but also we're talking about daycare. So
Absolutely.
we are kind of a sandwich generation now, because both of my parents have died. It's more of an open face.
Yeah,
sandwich.
we're quote unquote orphans. In
Yeah,
a way,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But like our young woman that I actually officiated her marriage, and she just had a baby, and she's our families are really good friends, and her mother, our good friend, now can provide daycare for her and her little child, and she just retired, and that's her main focus is daycare. Well, you couldn't do that unless they lived
No, my sister
proximate.
moved from Redondo Beach to San Clemente, because my parents are in San Clemente when she got married, and it wasn't right away when she got married, but when she moved, we were like, oh, she's having kids. Like, it was like, oh, this is the sign that she's going to have kids, because my parents were there to help.
Right.
And that is traditionally, if you're close to your family, that is part and parcel of what happens with families, right?
Right.
Unless you want to kill each other, but so yes, absolutely, and that makes it viable for her to be able to work, to balance out different things, So all of that is part of that conversation on housing, on affordability, on inclusion, like you're saying, right?
Well, what it does is it gives everybody a motivation to get on board to say, and we've seen this in the last 8 or 10 years in Costa Mesa, the evolution of
The
this
shift.
way of thinking. So it gives everybody an opportunity to get on board and say, yes, this is something that we're committed to. We want to have a more affordable community. Now, in Costa Mesa specifically, there was a lot of development in between, say, 2010 and 2016, and there was a bit of a backlash because of the way that was executed. So in 2016, there was a measure that passed by a wide margin called Measure Y.
Okay.
And Measure Y basically said if there's any type of housing development or commercial development for that matter that has any impact, it has to go to a vote of the people. Well, what that did is that completely brought any housing development to a screeching halt. No developer is going to come into a city and subject their project to the vote of the people. It's just too risky, and there's too much capital at risk.
Right.
So in 2022, in the last election, we put up a thing called Measure K. And Measure K basically takes the corridors in Costa Mesa that we identified as housing opportunity zones and exempts those from the vote, the Measure Y vote. And we put it on the ballot. It was fairly controversial because Measure Y passed by such a wide margin. And we did have people that were, against growth in the city, I would say. And it passed, but get this, it passed by 22 votes. And I don't know if you've ever heard of a thing called ballot curing. I wasn't even aware of what it was. But when we got to a point where it was so close, we had a group of people that went out and they cured ballots. So like if the registrar, you get this information, the registrar says, you Raad, you didn't fill out your ballot correctly. We know that you got that letter. We'd knock on your door, sometimes come as many as 8 times to make sure you were home.
Cure the ballot.
And said, you can cure the ballot. Here's a form. We did that with 100 people or more, like about 100, 150 people, and it passed by 22 votes. Ballot curing.
Has there been any backlash on it being so close?
Well, at first, there was a group that said, well, we want to do a recount, but the recount was, expensive, and that time elapsed. And the thing is there were a number of people that were upset about Measure Y. But as we started moving through the process, and we just enacted on a 7-0 vote, it was pretty amazing, an affordable housing ordinance, which we're moving forward on, and we're trying to bring developers in to develop units in our city and creating a vision for doing that in these housing opportunity zones. More people have come along with it, and we're not hearing the backlash. I think that if that same Measure K was on the 2024
You wouldn't
ballot,
have that close.
it would win handily.
Right. Well, I think you're seeing sort of the tea leaves on that one too, because I think all communities have come probably just varying degrees, but far away from that not in my backyard approach and the anti-growth approach, because they're feeling it. And I hate to tell this sort of truth to people, but I think COVID had something to do with it. When you had multiple people in the same household, and it became very clear that some of these things that you have been basically brushing under the carpet and not really thinking about putting on the back burner you were faced with. My parent is in a house, they're isolated, I got to bring them in, my kids, like all of a sudden you realized that we do have a need to rethink this housing situation. Right? So that was, I think, in an indirect way, a positive that came out of COVID.
Well, I think that in many ways, COVID was an accelerant.
I agree 100%.
There were things that were happening in the community, but COVID just made them come a little quicker. And the biggest thing is remote work. People were moving to remote work anyway.
Yeah.
But then when COVID hit and it was forced upon us, and people got used to it, now it's very commonplace. I'm not a remote work guy,
right.
But a lot of people are, and that's fine, and I work with them every day.
Well, I mean, I remote worked for the better part of 23 years, and then some. And I think it's a different animal, and it doesn't work for everybody. But I think when it was forced on you, and this is the other thing I think about COVID, is had we gone through the trials and tribulations of COVID for, like, let's say a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, it would have been a different story.
Right.
But when it became institutionalized by the duration of time that we had to be dealing with it, all of a sudden people's reevaluations of things, reprioritizing of things. So I agree with you 100%, and I said it on the back in the day, and you're absolutely spot on. It isn't that it caused something different to happen. It accelerated what was already taking place, whether it was the the online shopping, the the order and delivery, on demand kind of component. All of that stuff was sort of happening. It just accelerated it.
Right. Well, like looking at my profession, I'll give you an example of just what happened just this morning. So I'm a trial lawyer.
Yeah.
And so I've been practicing for over 35 years. And it used to be my policy was anytime I could get my face in a courtroom in front of a judge, I always did it no matter what.
Right.
And I would justify that and I would bill for it.
Right.
So today, and we've had many hearings in this particular case in Riverside.
Yeah.
So Riverside Superior Court. So today we had a hearing in Riverside Superior Court. So if this would have happened in 2019 or 2018,
Yeah.
I would have got in the car, driven out to Riverside, gone for the hearing, which took all of 10 minutes, got in the car.
Your whole day is gone, right?
Yeah, I would have billed my client like 3.4 hours.
Yeah.
And I would have justified it, and I said I had to get in front of the judge.
Yeah.
And today, instead, I made myself a cup of coffee. 20 minutes before the hearing, I logged on my iPhone, and we did the hearing, and it was done, and I billed my client probably 25 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
But as long as it's the even playing field, nobody was in the courtroom, so I'm okay with that.
Right. You don't want to have the disadvantage of not being.
Yeah,
able to
I would
not
never.
do it.
My big thing is if anybody's going to be in the courtroom, it's
You
going
gotta
to be
be
me.
there.
And the one thing I miss about it, though, quite honestly, is the courtroom used to be a place where we could network. We would see each other. We would see each other work, and we'd be able to say, "Hey, that was a really good argument," or "Hey, what are you doing? You want to go to the cafeteria and catch up?" These types of things. Or, "Hey, give me a call. Let's have lunch," whatever it is. And now that's all gone. And there's a little bit of, for me, a little wistfulness of the old days when we really got together as a bar at the court.
But, and again, guys, impacting guys more than women probably, is all of those relationships. I remember with my father, all those relationships and all those sort of friendships, sort of things, were based around work. So
Right.
even if it's the same people, now, again, understanding priorities and what it is, it's like, I don't want to communicate with everybody on social. I actually want to take the time to pick up the phone and call somebody, at least voice to voice, or actually make the time and pencil in some time to go see somebody.
Right.
So it changes what you got as an added bonus of being in that court. Now you got to make a little bit of a different effort
Right.
for that social component.
Well, what it is like if you see somebody in person, like what we're doing right now, this is considered a grand gesture. We're in the same room together.
Which, by the way, thank you, because I
Yeah.
told you, I said, hey, do you want to do this on Zoom or do you want to do this in studio? And you said to me, no, I want to go into the studio because I want to do it in person.
Yeah.
Yes, and you're right, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So meetings, in-person meetings take on a new level of meaning and respect.
Yeah.
And so, I've always loved to do them anyway. I love to be in front of people. There's no, I always say it's like I call it the hierarchy of communication. The highest level of communication is when you're with somebody and you could see them and you can have all the nonverbal and you can hear their voice. Then it's the telephone. I'm a big telephone guy. And next is, maybe a letter or a card and then the email and then a text. And I guess the worst level is which we do anyway. That's how we got the first touch with us was a Facebook message. I mean, that's like the lowest level of communication. But you know what? It got us together. It worked.
Yeah, I think that's okay if you have established that relationship already. It's
Right.
not just another form of communication. I mean, I had family all over the world, and we used to use phone cards to
Sure.
connect with people, right? Back in the day.
Or WhatsApp.
Or WhatsApp. It became WhatsApp. But I think yeah, and I remember going through business school, and it's like there's nothing that's going to replace a handshake. There's nothing that's going to replace we're sitting in the same room. Paul is sitting over there. He's not even engaging. Okay, but that being said,
I'm listening. I'm
but
listening.
he's picking up on the energy. I'm picking up on your energy. You're picking up on my energy.
Yeah.
You can't do that necessarily 100% through a virtual environment.
No, you can't.
It's just not the same.
The only thing would be better is if we had a cigar and a glass of wine.
Damn, I'm out. They're in the car. I left them in the car, and there is wine in the car, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Not that I usually carry wine in the car, but I just was given wine, before I got here. So, yeah. So, okay. So you're, John Stephens versus John Denver.
Yeah.
What else how do we also belong in Costa Mesa? Yeah, but yes, Paul. Paul's bathroom is out the door.
We had a Twitter request, wanted to know where they can buy the John Stephens record. The CD.
It will be it will be produced by Orange County Talk Radio and made available on only vinyl,
Yes.
right?
But only vinyl.
Right. So go get yourselves a record player, people. I actually, to that point though, John, I actually have an old John Denver that has that on LPs. I kept all my LPs from the 80s.
Yeah.
So I might have to have you come over and kind of like, ad lib to the actual record.
We can rewrite all the songs.
I'll provide the cigars and
Yeah,
the wine.
yeah. I actually rewrote the very beginning of the song where it goes, "Almost Heaven, Costa Mesa, South Coast Plaza, Santa Ana River."
I think you just started a new jingle for South Coast Plaza there.
There you go.
Are you listening, South Coast Plaza?
Molly Younger.
Yeah, exactly.
Operator standing by.
I mean, everybody, all the
Ready to
shopping
take
centers
your
are
order.
rebranding. There you go. And it's a little nostalgia, a little simpler times, a little Americana. It doesn't get more than that with John Denver. Maybe
Although I have no idea how much money I owe to the John Denver estate.
Oh, I'm sure you'll hear from them after this. How do people get hold of?
Operator standing by right now. Ready
Okay, so yes, housing definitely. What else is on your radar on stuff like that?
Well, last night was a big night. We've talked about this off the air, but
Yeah.
we brought in to have their training camp the Las Vegas Raiders, and it was a huge deal.
I still have a hard time hearing Las Vegas before the name, but yes.
I know. Well, you mentioned you were in Oakland,
Yeah.
So I thought. And then, are you a Raiders fan?
From a distance, I'm more of a soccer fan, but as
Yeah.
far as football goes, yeah, local teams.
Well, you can't get a more loyal, and I'm not sure if I should have, but I called him last night a rabid fan base.
Oh,
you know?
Raider fans? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Raider fan, and so what for the last several years since 2017, and it got upset a little bit by COVID. We've had at Jack Hammett Sports Complex right over by Costa Mesa High School in OCC. On Fairview, we've had the Chargers have had their training camp there, and they also had their headquarters over by IKEA on South Coast Drive.
Yeah.
So we have basically a really good proof of concept. We had done it for a number of years. It had been very successful. Well, the Chargers, who still are under contract with a lease, they're moving up to El Segundo. They've got, they play at SoFi, and they've built out their headquarters, and that's always what they plan to do. It's just we were an interim solution for them between San Diego and Los Angeles. And so what they did is they released this year, and we talked to the Houston Texans first, and then we talked to the Las Vegas Raiders. See, I went back to LA Raiders. I'm thinking of Marcus Allen there. No, Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry, Raiders. And so last night on, again, a 7-0 vote. It was great. We approved the deal with them, and they're going to provide. So it's a Jack Hammett Sports Complex. It's mostly for soccer and flag football.
Right.
It's 15 acres. So they're taking two of the main fields. They're completely tricking out these fields. They're changing the irrigation, the turf. They're putting $600,000 into that. They're rebuilding the weight room, which is adjacent for Costa Mesa High School, providing tickets to youth for football games, a mini camp for the youth.
That's amazing.
And the other thing they're doing is they're paying for a mobile rec van. So we have these vans. The Chargers bought one for us, and now the Raiders are going to as well. We're able to take our Parks and Rec equipment and our staff out to underserved areas of Costa Mesa and engage with the youth. And so it's great. And then, of course, there's going to be a lot of people staying at our hotels, and it's really going to benefit. We had the guy from the Marriott there and the Westin. And the one thing that's tricky about it, though, Raad, and we haven't quite worked this out yet, and we're still going to move forward with the deal no matter how this works out. But there's a 75-mile bubble where because we're 73 miles from SoFi Stadium, so the Rams and the Chargers and the Raiders are talking about how do you reconcile that, because no team is supposed to go into another team's
Within 75
75-mile
miles.
bubble and do any marketing. So the question is, what is marketing? And is an open practice marketing, or can they let the season ticket holders in there or other partners? And how could we work it out so that we, so the Raiders are compliant with the rules and the bylaws.
And is that 75 miles versus 73 miles? The distance, is it based on where they're physically going to be?
Yes. So you basically take, you just, I think the way it works, I haven't studied this, but I think the way it is you just take SoFi Stadium, you take a radius and you draw a bubble around
Right.
it, and Jack Hammett Sports Complex is barely within that radius.
So I hate to be kind of tricky, but what if your address was actually 2 miles away from that?
well, I think that the
It's where you play is
yeah,
what it is.
I think I would say the Rams and the Chargers have very good attorneys, and they could probably poke holes in that.
I mean, that sounds like an amazing situation for Costa Mesa.
It's great for us, and however it works out in terms of working it out with the Rams and the Chargers and the Raiders, really that's not that's for them to work out.
Yeah.
But no matter how it works out, it's going to be great for the city of Costa Mesa. So we had a representative from Matt Leinart Flag Football that was there last night, Frank Albers, who came and talked to us, and he says, "Hey, listen, we're all in favor of this because when the Raiders leave, just same with the Chargers, when the Raiders leave, they leave these pristine fields.
Absolutely. There's an infrastructure benefit.
And they're perfect fields because the players that play on those fields, if they sprain an ankle, it's $100 million they're gone. So they have to be perfect. And then these little, flag football players and AWSO soccer kids get to go and play on those fields just like the field that the Raiders play.
Absolutely. And not only just like the field that actually the Raiders did play on.
They did
So
play.
there's another layer to that as well that comes in. No, that's amazing. Paul, did you have a question?
I did. I'm just curious. I mean, that's a real coup for Costa Mesa because I knew the Chargers were there for a while and then they were leaving, and that's a big boon for the city. The hotel spaces it get and the tourists it brings in and all the other stuff. How did you, I wouldn't even think to attract a team outside of the local radius. How did you even think of that or go do that? What's the pitch for the Houston Texans or the Raiders to come here as opposed to
what motivated you guys
somewhere
to go?
in their state?
Oh, great. Well, well, I'll tell you what. It's two words: global or climate change, global warming, or whatever. If the Saints are going to play in Irvine, if you're in Vegas, which of course is a very hot desert climate, if you're in the Gulf area, as you remember from last year, I think it was like for 2 months that in Houston the weather was 110 degrees or more. So that is what motivated the Texans to come out and talk to us, and the Raiders and the Saints and and of course the Cowboys have been in Oxnard forever since the Tom Landry days, and so that was the motivation, Paul. And then we were a perfect place because we have a very temperate climate and we had done it before, and so it was like a turnkey solution for hot weather teams.
Yeah, and it's not that foreign, by the way, Paul. You think about I want to say Switzerland, but maybe it's a different northern European country. Their ski team actually practices in Australia or New Zealand.
Huh.
In that time of year, like because of the difference of the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere. So temperature, climate being a draw, that's pretty amazing. Now I know that some of the hotels are like, I think it's the Westin, that South Coast, that actually has an existing relationship actually with the Raiders at some point, and they used to host them for a couple of things at on the property. But you mentioned something to me that is just another layer to this for you.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to share that?
Yeah. So in 1977, January 9th, 1977, I was 13 years old, and I went and saw the Raiders play the Vikings in the Super Bowl at the Rose Bowl, and the Raiders won. And this is the first time the Raiders had ever won a Super Bowl, and they had played in the Super Bowl, I think, in 1968 against the Packers, but they finally won, and it was with that great team, Kenny the Snake Stabler, and Freddie Bolitnikoff, who was the MVP in that. I mean, so many great players. You had Ted Hendricks, the Mad Stork, and you could go on and on with Lester Hayes, Jack Tatum, all these.
Now I have to say, you're driving
I
a stake through my heart because I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, and I remember that.
Weren't you there as a water boy?
I remember that a totally different way. The Fran Tarkenton years, one more year they went lost 3 in a row, and set the record for failure in football.
Oh, a little rivalry right here on OC Talk Radio, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I mean, then that record for futility was then matched by the
Buffalo.
Bills. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, they were the also ran team. But in fairness though, Paul, I was a Rams fan back in those days, Los Angeles Rams fan.
Yeah.
And the Rams couldn't even get to the Super Bowl. And then they made it in 1980 and lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So you were there the first time the Raiders won a Super Bowl.
The Raiders won a Super Bowl.
And here you are sitting at bringing the Raiders into Costa Mesa.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I was there the last time they played in the Super Bowl in 2003. So they haven't been to the Super Bowl since for over 20 years, and they haven't won a Super Bowl for approximately over 40 years.
So is there a conscious decision, because I want to tie this in with something that happened also last weekend. Okay, the conscious decision by the city to kind of I don't know whether it's raising the awareness of City Costa Mesa as far as being a hub for different things, because usually you think about the city in a certain way, right? Like traditionally we've thought of Costa Mesa a certain way, we've thought of Irvine in a certain way, maybe one is academic, one is more retail, one of like that kind of stuff, because you guys just had an amazing, I'm talking amazing, and I would like to see, because I know you were there, I'd like to see what your feedback was, because I heard feedback second or third hand, but the Orange County Marathon was unbelievable this year.
Biggest ever this year. Yeah.
Almost 20,000 people.
Yeah. It's the 20th year.
And over multiple days.
Yep.
Right. 20,000 people that participated.
Right.
And you had all kinds of different activities, and that's an undertaking.
Sure.
To house people, to accommodate people. I heard people came from all over because they love the temperature, the weather, the location, the views from the route. What was your feedback? You were there, I know.
Yeah, it was great. So I go every year. I've gone, I think, ever since 2017, because when Katrina was the mayor, she would go to a lot of the marathon events, but she didn't want to go to the start because you got to get up early. My alarm went off at 3:30 because I wanted to get there in time. And I got there in time, and I gave a little message to people in the marathon and the half marathon. But you're right. When you go to Fashion Island and you see those runners, first of all, it's just a wall of runners, or just goes on forever, a river of runners, I should say. And it's so beautiful because you got the palm trees, and the sun is coming up.
Yeah.
And then throughout the whole, and then so they start in Newport Beach and they end in Costa Mesa. And so I got up and I said, "There's a beer waiting for you in Costa Mesa, and just think about Costa Mesa as you get tired." And so then it ends at the Orange County Fairgrounds, which is a great venue.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you this though, Raad, this is maybe a little breaking story for you. So one of the things that I do in addition to as the mayor is I was elected from other mayors to be a director of the OCTA, Orange County Transportation Authority.
Yeah.
So we got a briefing recently about the 2028 Olympics.
Okay.
And the 2028 Olympics is going to be the first car-free Olympics. There's going to be no parking at the venues.
In car culture, Orange County?
In car culture, Los Angeles, Southern California. Right. And so all agencies, transportation agencies throughout the country are being asked to contribute buses. So we're trying to see if we can contribute like 20 buses or something like that. And it clicked to me because Costa Mesa is the center of Orange County. We have great assets like, South Coast Plaza, the hotels that we've mentioned, and also the fairgrounds.
To strategically mobilize. Yeah.
The fairgrounds. So my vision, and if I can get reelected and we can do it between now and 2026 when I'm out for good, we need to put it in place, is to have Costa Mesa and the central Orange County be the hub. So people come from literally all over the world, every continent. They come here, whether it's Beijing or Dubai or Venezuela or Argentina or wherever they come from, Canada, Europe. They come to Costa Mesa and they get on their bus, and the bus says, "Hey, we're going to badminton," or whatever it is. They go to their event, they come back and stay in our hotels. Not just Costa Mesa. We couldn't do it all on our own. It has to be a regional effort.
Right.
And then they go to South Coast Plaza. They go to the lab. They go have fun here. They go to Performing Arts Center, Orange County Museum of Art. and then they go back to their countries all over the world, and they say, I came back from a great place, and they could see what really, how it's a little slice of paradise, that a kiss from the gods that we have here, particularly during the summer. And this is the last 2 weeks of July. It's going to be 14 consecutive days, and that's like having the Super Bowl for 14 days.
Right, but
it's international. People from all over the world that are exposed to our city and our region, and will come back and will basically feed the region with tourists and occupancy taxes and stuff for generations.
Well, I love the fact that it's regionally focused and not just bottlenecked in one area or two areas. And I mean, the venues I know are going to be scattered in different places depending
Right.
on the sports, right? I heard something about the Honda Center actually being part of that, as far as maybe like volleyball or something. But
Sure.
anyway, the thing about it is, I think it's amazing. And I think, to your point, like, if you have a choice, and plus you have everything from an entry point as far as an airport goes, to venues, to accommodations, to everything that are not necessarily right there. Plus, to be honest, the practicality of not having that additional impact on the transportation corridors.
Right.
I mean, God, can you imagine all those people now are in cars and added to our normal traffic?
Yeah, and the bus ride themselves. I mean,
It's a jovial experience.
absolutely, and you're there.
Yeah.
It's like the United Nations on a bus,
On a bus,
traveling
absolutely.
wherever. The bus ride itself is going to be a party, and then when the people come back, they're so happy. And I say, and I'm sure you know this, but Costa Mesa was really created because of something, in a totally different context and not quite as happy of a context. But during World War II,
Yeah.
it was the Santa Ana Army Air Base, and people came from all over the country to train in Costa Mesa. Well, wasn't even Costa Mesa yet, but in that area where the fairgrounds is now, the city hall is there, OCC, Vanguard, all those things. It's a 900 acre area, and so many people came back after the war and said, that's where I want to start my family.
Because
after
that's
the
my
war."
experience. Yeah, you hear
Because
that
I
a
had
lot
s-
from people that were
I
formerly
had
in the
such a
military.
great experience.
Yeah.
And so all we need to do is expose the rest of the world to Costa Mesa, and we'll have all kinds of great tourism. And it's the same thing with the Raiders. Getting
Yeah.
back to the Raiders, when this Raider news broke, we were in the Sports Illustrated, USA Today. We're now in all over the nation, people talking about what is this Costa Mesa? The Raiders are going to Costa Mesa. What's Costa Mesa? And it just provides a higher profile.
Well, and the positive benefit that just trickles down to everybody, all the businesses now being vested partners in this, the hospitality component, both in terms of facilities and just the attitude. You can engage the community in multiple levels, on every level. Yeah, Paul is pointing the finger at me. I don't know which finger. Oh, okay, it's the right. Okay,
we
he's
gotta
the
go?
pointer.
It's the wrap-up finger.
Yeah, he's the
You know
wrap-up
what
finger.
they'll do, though?
Right.
But
Everybody will come back to around the world and they'll say, those people in Costa Mesa, those people in Orange County, they live a rad life.
way to go. Way to take
He
it out.
wrapped it back around, ladies and
Way to
gentlemen.
take
But
it out.
before we call it a day, John, you mentioned in passing, and I just want to make a point. You're running for re-election
Yes.
as mayor.
Yes.
And how do people find out about you? Is there a website
No,
for your
you know what?
campaign? Is it?
The one thing I am.
Did they buy a John Denver? record?
I'm just keep your eyes open. I'm the most worst procrastinating candidate ever. So, opening up my bank account this week, and then if you were to ask me 2 weeks from now, I'd give you all that information.
Well, and I already offered this up to John. John and I have known each other for a while. He's been on the show before, and I said to him, I said, listen, I get lazy sometimes. I don't want to host the show, so can you come and host the show for me? Maybe it's something about updates of what's going on or some topic of interest. Because I mean, we touched on a lot today,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of it is very pertinent to what's going on right now, region-wise. Wide and also more locally. So the invitation is open, my friend.
Thank you.
I'd love to have you come in and just let me know, and I'll just walk away and you can take the hosting. Actually, a funny joke, when we walked in this room, he almost sat in my chair. And so I think he was warming up to the idea anyway.
Yeah.
Paul, thanks for letting us run over again, but it's an interesting conversation. Thank you, John, for being here. It's always good to talk to you.
Thank you, Raad. Thank you, Paul. It's always good to see you, Paul.
We need to see you more often.
Yeah, I think
Thanks.
we'll have him in again. Thanks, everybody. Join us next week. Talk to you later.